Hi, Santiago.
Hello,
Uh,
hello everyone. I'm Santiago from Pollen Robotics.
mhm.
I'm the growth lead and business development. Pollen, just a quick recap, is being launched in 2016, so almost for 10 years now. We are mainly focused in open source robotics, both the hardware and the software.
Just a few weeks ago, there was a big buzz around pollen. Maybe you can dive into that.
Yeah, so one of the best was about the purchase from Hugging Face that we integrated. So since 15th of April, we have been part of their company. We maintain our identity, our independence in the way that we work. But for us, it was a really natural connection from the start from them, as they have the same philosophy with open science and open source, and how that can benefit the whole of the robotics community.
It was a big topic last year when Le Robot started. It was
Mm-hmm.
coming out of nowhere somehow.
Yeah.
And Remy was one of the main characters here.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, as you said, even as an outsider, not
Yeah.
being involved, it seemed very natural that you guys got together.
Yeah, I mean, from there, the robot doesn't, for me, doesn't go from nowhere because you have all this potential creativity, all this potential collaboration that people want to have, all the researchers, but they don't have the tool, they don't have the hardware, and they don't know how to put all the motivation, the efforts. So I think that Le Robot was a super nice platform to give all those people the energy, the motivation, the creativity they had, and put it in something in a big effort.
We chatted a little bit earlier before this interview, and you were mentioning the importance for you as a company that the idea of bringing robotics to the people,
Yeah.
making it more accessible, this is core of your DNA. And what are your thoughts when you're looking at competitors, when you're looking at the market itself?
So for me, I always invite people, other organizations or researchers on try to think what can they do from their position to help other people, to motivate them, to invite them to work in robotics, in AI, and unleash their creativity. Because what I see is that sometimes robotics as a field is still mainly focused in the developed world. So we are missing plenty of diversity or creativity that we're leaving behind. We already seen this force that it can help us for the innovation with Le Robot. I think that there are plenty of space that we can have for other companies to do exactly the same thing.
And when you say different ways of contributing to that, what comes up to your mind? Because very often when you ask people blandly,
Yeah.
they are not very creative. When you give a few options, people have very often opinions, right? So if I would be such a company and says I have no idea what you're talking about, what would be more concrete for you?
For me, it will be anything that lets people be part. We have a more hands approach on the technology in itself. So, for example, if you are building software, why not having a little part of your software that people can play with, or sort of simulations? If you're building hardware, then why not developing a really low-cost developer kit or some 3D printable parts that people can see how the technology works and they can build from that, even if they have to purchase later, but really start from the scratch and then build on that. So people don't have this blockage of, oh no, this is a really expensive product, this is a really expensive software that I will never get my hands on it. No, why not having really cost-effective way of having people to invite them to start playing with your technology?
I might be a bit provocative here when I ask this question, but the skepticism that a lot of companies might have here is when you're building a platform or an ecosystem,
Yeah.
people are then bound to it, or then so it seems like an extensive or creative business model in
Yeah.
saying, I would like to do developer growth and community growth.
Right. So for me, there actually that's an advantage because as it is open source, or you have different technologies that can work on that space, that leaves you the liberty, the openness to adapt yourself, to adapt the technology, so it can sustain as well in the future. So it doesn't block you to one specific company or one specific model that you have to be able to have it throughout the time. If not, the technology won't work. If it is open, you can sort of pick and sort what is the best models, what are the best ways to construct your product or your technology, and that keeps it as well through the time. Because if you give that technology to the researchers, to the society, then the community as well can sustain your product.
think because some people come from the old world where knowledge and expertise was so valuable, so the entrance barrier was kind of protecting me and my product and my
Yeah.
business model. So now those walls being torn down, not only through LLMs where one has access to all the knowledge that exists more or
Yeah.
less, but so this mind shift. But on the other side, like business models that are coming out of this open source, and
Yeah.
we have now a few companies that are starting to show that actually even if you share things, you can still make money.
Yeah.
Do you think this is something when we talking in 6 months, 12 months, 1 or 2 years, that more startups are emerging, being open source, can be inspiring other companies and understanding, okay, even though I give away my my
product,
idea.
yeah. So that's quite natural. I mean, I myself, I come from management, so it was a really shift for me to see how can we sustain this new type of ways of creating value for people. So for me, the focus here is not only on the profit, on the sales, but the traction, the impact, the value that it generates for the people that are using it, and how much let's say interaction you have with the product or with the software that you are creating. You don't only get value from the physical sales of a product or a software, but as well as how many people are interacting with it, how many people are speaking about you, and how many people want to build with your platform. So I think that there's a whole lot of potential that sometimes we don't value, but it has a really physical money aspect to that as well.
So I think this is where your position as growth comes in. The last few words are sounding here in the back of my mind. I asked this a few of the other guests earlier today. We are in Europe. We are in London. This is a French-based company.
Yeah.
And even though I think Hugging Face is now a New York-based company, they are deeply rooted in France, right? And is that something that you see? And you don't need to answer this, but it seems it is a question of mine. Do you think that this European mindset that French people might have in terms of collaborating and do you think there's an advantage of you guys?
I think that the advantage there is that France, Europe in general, has always been, I would like to put it, or would like to have it to be a bastion on open source and open science, and to have this credibility on the history of how we developed science before, in the terms that we always wanted to science to be helpful for the community and not to be specific to some type of company or some type of industry or country specifically, but it could benefit the whole community. So for that, for me, it's really important to have different aspects, different diverse visions from the technology that we use, not only from Europe, but from the whole world, from different countries, from different projects, from different type of developed countries or not. So I think the positioning that Europe could have there is to be some sort of fighter for open science, open source in the robotics and AI field.
When I look over the ocean and see the Bay Area, because you were talking about giving people access to robotics, the your product
Yeah.
is still on the upper scale, at least at the moment, when it comes to being accessible. I think it's 70K.
Yeah.
So there was recently another startup in the Bay Area that were proposing you can buy and assemble this humanoid robot, open source humanoid robot for like 10K. So is that something that you can share an opinion about?
Yeah, so actually that's one of my main blockages on my work, like to tell people myself, how can we open source even more? How can we let people that don't have the money to use a robot, to build a robot, or to just buy it from ourselves, to interact with the technology? So for that, we are trying to see what we can do. For example, one of the options that we are trying to see the feasibility of it is to construct test spaces where people can interact with the technology without even purchasing. Let's think about as a loan. So you can test your robots or your application for a day, for a week, and see if you can scale your application or your startup without even having to purchase the robot. So I think that there are several new ways of doing business that we haven't yet explored, or other companies haven't yet explored, that are super valuable for customers, especially for I'm imagining people in last years of a bachelor or in a master's. They already have the competence to build startups, to build products, but they don't have the capacity to build one of our robotic solutions. So there's a lot of value there. And as well, concerning our price, we are completely acknowledge that our robots is more on the high end of the spectrum. For that, I mean, it's a position that in some sense we respect, because the motors, the actuators, and the features that we propose are quite what our clients expect of it, and is something that we propose a really strong performative robotics platform. But that doesn't let us put aside that maybe for a Reachy 3 version in 2026 or 2027, we could have a much more cost-efficient robot, but that still has performative and strong enough capabilities that people want to have it for real-world applications. Because sometimes, that's our objective here, is that we have to have a good balance between real-world applications, a robot that is strong enough to put it in the real world, and cost-effective enough.
I think here the fact that Hugging Face acquired Pollen, now having a portfolio of products that can be a bridge. Because when we're looking at Le Robot and we're looking at the SO100, there was a tremendous success, and now the successor, the SO101. This is where it gets really accessible and really being able. So it's a little arm that comes assembled, or you can assemble it on your own, and you can start right away using the models to do some stuff. When you are a computer scientist, or when you're interested in robotics and know a bit. So I think here it's a good complementary space that you guys are in.
Yeah, so the synergy, how it works, is exactly the same. Like, we are trying to see from our side as well right now, and actually that's what we're presenting here at the conference as well. What are the projects that we are trying to create? Open source, 3D printable, really low cost, and by low cost I mean less than 300 euros, that you can either print yourself or you can buy from a reseller. That can help people to unleash their knowledge in machine learning, in vision, in manipulation, or just about building robots in general. So it can inspire people that sometimes they are in AI or in data science, but they think that robotics is super complicated, and if you are not in it, you cannot enter. So actually to open the doors and say, actually it's quite simple right now. It can be much simpler than it was before, and you can start from a really simple robot that even if the robot is simple, you can create really strong applications.
The other companies and the other guests that I had here is in the interviews, I'm always asking towards the end of the interview, what's next for you guys? What is there? Is there anything on the roadmap that you would like to give us a sneak peek? Is there anything we need to look out?
So what we are trying to do, like for the couple, I will say the next year, is to iterate. We work internally in a hackathon mode, meaning that we go from one project to the other, and we see the traction of it, we see how the community reacts, and we try to build the community around each project. So right now we have between 4 to 6, even 7 projects that we're doing at the same time. So what you can expect from us from here till 2026, I would say, is a whole level of different smaller projects besides our Reachy 2 robot that can help you get into robotics in a specific way, either in manipulation, in vision, in machine learning, in 3D printing, in industrialization. So to foster a little bit the innovation. And then if one of the projects doesn't work, then we'll iterate quickly to another one, and we'll just keep going till we have a really strong traction from the community.
I mean, with other guests today, I talked about this earlier, doing these iterative loops and shipping until something sticks, and where you see there's a demand, where there's a product market fit, so to speak. So there's a real need. It's an interesting approach, and I think the way you guys play the community game pretty well, but also the product development part of it, I think is nothing short than impressive.
Yeah, thank you. So I think that sometimes how I'd like to explain to people is that we try not to push the technology on people. We just try to have a really simple first version of how we think a product should be, and then leave it open for other people to have their feedback, to appropriate their products, the software, and then we iterate and then we improve it in some sense together. So the solutions that we create are always try to be community based, and I think that that's a really good way of having products or solutions that people like to use, because actually they were made collaboratively.
I think as someone who is interested in robotics, there's a must-on to take an eye on you guys and see what's coming. Especially as you said, this is something. If I'm interested in one of the different kind of areas that you just mentioned, I can just participate and kind of a democracy way. I can be part and can push the ideas I'm very interested or very capable on, and bringing them forward. If I contribute, if I participate, so I think this is definitely a way to bring this to the people. So
thank you.
No. So thanks for making this possible. And with other guests, we were talking about how things are now possible that they haven't been in the past. So I think you guys play a major role here.
Oh, thank you. We hope that we will continue to do it, and we will have even more creativity, more diversity, more innovation from several people that are a little bit afraid or shy to start in the field. I think that if we can have and foster more innovation from people around the world, it will be to the benefit of all of us, actually.
Which is a good word. Thank you for taking the time, and looking forward to see more from you.
Thank you, Jaime.